Good evening and welcome to Paranormal Peeps. And this evening I'm speaking to Christian Lander. How are you doing?
I'm really good, thank you very much. Yourself? Are you well? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm great, thanks. I did do a triple ghost hunting last week and it tired me out no end. I'm still trying to recover from that really.
I was going
So
to
I
say, have you
did
recovered? But
no. I was just shattered after I finished work today. So I did 2 nights at Haunted Antiques, then a night at the Poltergeist House in Rotherham,
okay.
which is a public event with me and Barry John. And yeah, that was incredible as well. But yeah, it's just been a crazy like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night. And the weekend, I think I've spent just recovering really. And
Brilliant.
it's mad, isn't it?
It's actually
But
been really good to reconnect with Barry. Actually, I really like his energy. It's really cool.
oh, yeah, that's right. He went into some trance work. He did a trance, and wow, that was incredible. So public event, and then Barry does this trance, and whoever's come through is sort of talking you through a scenario. So yeah, it's really fascinating, and
Excellent.
yeah, everyone just loved it, and yeah. But wow, what can we say? I'm speaking to you. So
Yeah.
where did your interest in the paranormal and the whole thing begin, really?
Okay, so where did that begin? I guess in many ways my answer would be my mother. Um, so when I was growing up, say 4 or 5 years old, my mum was telling me of accounts that happened to her when she was a child, and of course, on her bookcase was a number of books that I got to read over time. And those books included like Charles Bullitz's like Bermuda Triangle, um,
Oh yeah.
Help My House Is Haunted. It was a book from the 1970s, and that was by celebrities in Hollywood who were writing about their encounters with strange and unusual phenomena. My mother's case is quite an unusual one, actually. So she had an encounter with. Do you, do you know Norfolk well? Do you know like Cambridgeshire or anything like that?
I know Norfolk,
Okay,
not
so
Cambridge.
In Peterborough, which is a little
Right, yeah.
strange town on the edge of the fens, there is a small satellite town village called Yaxley, and beyond
Yeah.
that, there's another satellite town to that called Turves. Extraordinarily small. It is even today. I don't think that there's more than 12 houses along this street. At
Wow.
the time, the 19 would be in the 1960s. This would have had just 8 houses on it, brand new build, and it's completely flat. There's you can see for miles in either direction, all
Yeah.
farming houses. So my grandfather, grandmother moved there. They just had their fourth child, my uncle Will, and in this particular house, um, they had actually swapped with another military man because my grandfather was in the military. He was he used to drive the what's called the brass around. He used to drive the jeeps and stuff, take people everywhere. A bit of a transport driver for military, really. So
Interesting.
he, yeah, so he swapped house. His wife had recently died, and my grandparents, of course, and they got 4 kids, so they decided to swap houses. So one traded up, one traded down to save space. And in the house where they'd moved to, this house in Turves, the my mother was the only girl of 4 children, and she was in the back bedroom up there. And my mum told me very vividly many times how she would it was, of course, it was that time when the coal, there was a bit of a coal dispute, so there no energy anywhere, no
Mm-hmm.
electricity, house lights were all down. The And that happened so regularly that was kind of part of the day to day life of that being that particular kind of space. The One particular evening, she says that she woke up, she thought it was the middle of the night, and her bedroom door had come open. She heard it squeak, and she thought perhaps it was one of her brothers who came to visit the bedroom. This happened 3 nights in a row. The third night happened, and a lady walked in. And this lady came in. She says, "Oh, don't worry, I'm just here to wipe the windows and to dust the cupboards down, to do a bit of cleaning." This
Wow.
lady came in and she described it very vividly. I can still remember how vividly she described it to me now. She's wearing a pinafore dress. She had moccasin slippers on with a little pom pom at each of her shoes, and
Oh
then she
wow.
came in, wiped down the cabinets, wiped down a chest of drawers, and a kind of had a mirror and drawers where you sit on with the desk.
Yeah.
And then she said, "Oh, thank you very much. I'll speak to you later." And when my mum told my grandparents and brothers and sisters, they all kind of made fun of her. Nothing like that. Stop making stuff up. And then a few nights later, the same thing occurred, where this lady not only came in this time, she then came and sat on the bed. So she physically felt the bed go down, and they had a conversation. And then this lady went into great detail about the new moccasin shoes that she's got, and she kind of lifted her feet
Wow.
up, and she was like, "Come and have a look at these. These are really nice." And she was so happy to have received them, like it was new. And then she said goodbye to my mum, and who again was only 12 years old at this time. And when this lady got up off the bed, she put her hand on the mirror to help her get up because she was an elderly lady. And then she went out of the room and she says, "Don't worry, I'll see you again soon." And this handprint, of course, is then still on the mirror. And then my mum goes down to breakfast the next day. Parents come around and she says, "Well, no, there's a handprint on the mirror." And all the kids, all put their hand to this handprint on the mirror, and of course, none of them fit the right shape.
Incredible.
And then, so I guess that was my mum's story, and so this is a ghost who just came in to do some cleaning.
And no idea who it was.
Well, there is the story of who that was. The gentleman whose house they swapped with, Mr. Turner. He, of course, the war's over. It's 1960s now. He's in a position of retirement. His wife has now recently died. But because he's now on his own, he would come to see my grandfather and my grandmother on a Sunday, and he would come for Sunday dinner. And you can imagine when a daughter's got her enthusiasm going on as a 12-year-old. I need to tell you something.
Yeah.
And my granddad had told my mum, "Shut up, don't you say anything." And mum just apparently burst out. She says, "I've seen a ghost. She's in the bedroom upstairs." And then Mr. Turner asks, "So what does she look like?" And she went on to describe the moccasin shoes. And she says, "Oh yeah, I bought my wife some moccasins, some red ones." And it was 2 days later that she died.
Wow.
And that was a couple of years before. But also, on top of this story, there was some jewelry that was on this cabinet. And every time that this lady would visit this Mrs. Turner, effectively, the jewelry from her jewelry box would go missing and would then reappear, apported to Mr. Turner's house. Up in, and he lived in a small town called Whittlesea, which again is quite close to Peterborough. And every Sunday at least, Mum was it's happened at least 3 times where when he would come over to have Sunday dinner, he would bring the jewelry back with him. So in terms of the stories I was hearing as a child, that was perhaps the first one. And then when I was at school on a Friday afternoon, we had 2 teachers that were called Miss Jewett and Miss Green, and they would have kind of, instead of having story time, what they would do, they would tell a fantastical story. It would be like the Mary Celeste or the Bermuda Triangle or the plane over Fort Lauderdale that went through the time slip. And then they would kind of ask the kids, and we were like 6 and 7 years old, what we thought about that. And I think that was just brilliant. I mean, I'd love to have that enthusiasm to go and ask kids these days to give them a sense of wonder. So that is where that kind of wonderment started. And then my mum bought a Reader's Digest, a big, huge, black, silver-rimmed book, and it was called Mystic Places. And this book, it was so big. I can remember taking it to school, and there's everyone reading Rupert, and there's me reading about the lost city of Z, and like the alien abduction phenomena, and Chariots of the Gods that is contained within that. And there was a 2-page spread of that particular sarcophagus lid. That's as part of the Inca Empire was found, and it looks like a man who is on some kind of rocket. It's like he's mounted on a bike. So there was a 2-page spread of that, gold painted. Oh, it looked beautiful. So of course, even at school, everyone was just kind of like, "What are you into then?" Well, this is what inspires me.
It's incredible, and to get a teacher who's like actually does interesting things as well. Now it's just syllabus, isn't it? So you wouldn't even go down that route.
Well, you think about how much knowledge has been locked down, because not only do you have the education system, which requires you to do 2 hours of PE, 4 hours of reading, writing, arithmetic, English language, history, mythology, religious studies and so on. But they don't allow the teacher to have any, personal time with the student anymore. What can we teach them that I know as a teacher? We just
Yeah.
teach them the syllabus. And now, of course, you have not only do you have the education syllabus, most schools are now part of academies, which are actually private businesses
Oh,
that are
yeah.
teaching their own curriculum on top of the government's requirements. So them schools are now teaching that what they, I go, their own syllabus effectively. And I do wonder how far we're getting away from that. And you think about most children and young adults these days are struggling to find their identity. They have no passion for history, culture. They are, in a strange way, they are not led to make their own thoughts up. They're kind of, without sounding derogatory, it almost like we're manufacturing robots to just go and work in the supermarket kind of thing, or
Yeah.
as opposed to giving people some kind of enthusiasm for life. We have to be missing that these days.
Yeah, that's it. Because school can be good. If you did get a decent teacher,
Oh
then
man, it
you
can
could
make all
learn
the
no
difference.
end. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right. But if they're just reciting, like we had teachers who were just like reciting textbooks,
mm.
and you're just writing it down day after day, and it doesn't really do much for your concentration, does it?
And
But to
also I don't.
actually have a debate and think about things,
Yeah, and I don't think we teach critical thinking anymore. We don't teach people to rationalize. If you come against an idea that you don't know what or you don't understand, or it's challenging text to your position of point of view in life, we're not taught to have that. We're taught to stay away from things that make us feel a little uncomfortable. Could be that you're reading
yeah,
Catcher in the Rye. It could be that you're reading, Huckleberry Finn, or those books of like Shakespeare and so on in your English class. You don't even get that these days,
no,
because we're skirting around comfortability, and we don't allow people to feel, oh wait a minute, there's other opinions, there's other knowledge out there, or how can I feel like I've got some critical values now? How can I make my own decision? They kind of funneled into a way of only one position and one like train of thought.
it certainly seems that way because, like with the books as well, people are finding, oh, they're offensive, and like
Yeah,
it was what it was. It was a part of history.
yeah, I,
Okay, compared to now, it's not right, but it happened.
yeah. It's
You
like,
can't suddenly go like, no, it's got, but
I can
yeah,
remember reading like the Machine Gunners in like year 8 at school, which was about. I don't know if you ever read that.
no,
It was four young boys in World War II, basically, and they were only like 10 to 12 years old each, and they kind of have a little den where they go. And what had happened, there was a surviving German airman who had obviously parachuted out. His plane had shot down, and he kind of landed in a what effectively is a scrapyard, and that's where these lads were hanging out. And they built a kind of a they were inspired by their friends and their family to build like a machine gun turret kind of thing to defend themselves against the German airmen. And of course, they now meet this German airman who could speak English, struggled, and they become friends.
oh
I mean,
wow,
I'm actually a really for a book of someone. Actually, I guess I'd have been like 11, 12 when I read that at school, being read a chapter of that each week, and I was that fascinating me to. But that happened, and is that true? Is that a fictional story told around this? But to almost be challenged by ideas those children in the book were being faced with, and that's fascinating to me.
yeah,
And
that's
when you
right,
think about the paranormal, we come against that all the time, don't we? Ideas that
yeah.
challenge us.
I do like it. It really suits my mind.
Hmm.
Like you try and piece something together, and you're trying to work it out, and then something just blows it out of the water.
Yeah,
I just have so many crazy experiences which I can't write up. I can't put out publicly because it's just too far fetched for words, really. And
absolutely,
that's what
absolutely.
fascinates me. And then it does get you thinking. I've just ordered a book on Judge Jeffreys. There are actually two books, I believe, written. So I've ordered one of those, which has been freshly printed. That's coming my way. There's
Excellent.
actually first there's a first edition on eBay at 260 quid, but I couldn't really go for it.
Yeah,
But
sometimes you have to go. What's within my budget to learn?
yeah, it was tempting, but on a whim it would have been a bit much. So this is like the original book, and it's just been reprinted and sent out.
I
So
got you. Yeah.
yeah, I'm looking forward to
I
receiving
mean, do
that.
you remember when about a few years ago when the vertical plane before it had its second edition? I
Mm,
was seeing copies online for more than £1,000.
wow.
And and then of course when the second edition came out by Ken, of course it's now a reasonable price of around tenner again. So
Yeah. But I don't know, these books, to say it's an old book and it's going to be, it's being reprinted, it's just for me. because they do them to order, which is amazing.
Brilliant,
So,
cool.
yeah, intrigued to see what it says, really, because it's just something what's fascinated me because of paranormal. And you do find you get things that intrigue you and you want to find out more, don't you?
For sure, absolutely, for sure. So I
So,
guess go for it. You go.
so, what sort of, so do you go investigating?
There was. Or do I go investigating? Sorry, I just poured
Yes,
myself a fresh cup of coffee. I do apologise. Got me on coffee percolator
that's
and
fine.
coffee here. So, do I go investigate? I have to say, I no longer do and haven't done for some time. And
Okay,
actually, it was from a position of ethics. Till about maybe 2011, 2012, I was going out investigating with a local group on a very regular basis.
okay.
And I certainly knew many groups who were doing active investigations at houses and so on, residentials. But I
Yeah,
guess for myself, I found myself in a strange quandary, and that is actually how I found my way to ASAP. So, probably 2011, I was in a house. There was three other investigators there, and this lady who was. We kind of positioned ourselves around the house to where these things had been reported to be occurring. So
yeah.
here I am, I'm upstairs, I'm in the daughter's bedroom, which is supposed to be the epicenter. A medium had told them there was a portal under the bed, and this is where the spirits come out. So I'm stood here in this room. But
Can I
downstairs,
say, did a
yeah,
medium tell them and just left them to it?
pretty much on a different occasion, yes, then invited this paranormal team. You know what they're like. They order
Yeah,
lots of people to come in. So
just
this is
scare
when,
them.
well, yeah, this is where it comes in. So downstairs, I can overhear what's happening, and that is my more skeptical, reasonable friend is having a conversation with the lady who's saying this. And he's saying, well, have you thought it could be your daughter's overactive imagination? Is it your active imagination? Are you hearing things? What are you seeing? What are you sensing? Kind of thing. Have you checked your medication? Is it?
Mm.
And she was getting more irate. Not what they were saying, just that this is real, this is happening in my house, kind of thing, and you need this. You're here as investigators. I need you to get rid of it, kind of thing. So perhaps her
Yeah,
expectation was that we were exterminators, which was also
yeah.
at first the foot of the flag. Ghostbusters perhaps has framed that we ghost hunters are exterminators of all kinds of things. We get rid of the vermin, get rid of the ghosts, and everyone's happy and moves on.
Hmm.
But, and I was aware that this lady felt like she could say anything to someone and it could cause controversy. She kind of came and had one of those kind of vibes. So
Right.
my thought that happened to me at that moment, I'm sat in there, I'm sat on this daughter's bed, I'm listening to where I'm looking at where this portal apparently is under a desk across the other side of the room. I'm like, oh my god, what a paranormal investigators put themselves in the position of when these people could say anything. That they could
Mm.
say that someone stole something from their house. They could say that they went through personal materials, personal clothing. Again,
Hmm.
I'm in his daughter's bedroom, and that almost is like, Jesus Christ, what are we doing in these places?
Yeah, that's
Um,
right.
so the ethics kicked in at that point firmly. I was like, what are we doing? And at that time, I had just heard of a case over in Florida where a pizza delivery guy, not a ghost related one, he'd gone to someone's house, and then the person who had ordered the pizza basically then took them hostage. And I was like, we generally speaking, okay, most people who are having paranormal experiences may well be having, episodes of strange phenomena happening, and they perhaps don't know how to perceive them. But what if they are schizophrenic? What if they
Yeah,
are hearing voices and they're asking for us happy investigators to go along to their house, which we willing investigators will happily. I want to go investigate ghosts. So you go along. What are you ethically putting yourself in the position of doing?
yeah,
Could you then get taken captive by a person who is hearing, strange voices from beyond wherever, or someone who is just disturbed? And I was just like, I can't do this anymore
I
because
get you.
I wasn't willing to put myself into that position anymore. I wasn't going. How and why do investigators do this, particularly residential stuff? I guess if you go in a haunted events, different theme entirely.
It's different, yeah.
But if you go into residential cases, I was just like, this is disturbing. Why would people put themselves in this position for a safeguarding aspect on both sides? For you as
That's
an
right.
investigator to go in there, but also for those people who perhaps only have the Ghostbusters perspective of people who bust ghosts or investigate ghosts. Some
Yeah,
investigations, I mean, I'm aware of investigations that are taking more than a year and they're still ongoing. So
that's
to
right.
know that a person's going to go in there, do one night's vigil, and that's it, you've got a haunted house, how dare they do that?
Yeah,
So, and then I came across ASAP in 2010. I went to their conference in 2011, became a member, and now I'm a director.
that's incredible. It really is. I have done private residentials. I'm not going in with my kit. I'm not a
No,
ghost hunter. Like some do it so they can put lives out on Facebook. No,
yes, I've
it's
seen
not
that.
about that. It's horrendous. So I am careful who I go out to. There's a lady I kept speaking to. She kept phoning me, and within like she'd start normal, then all of a sudden she's screaming and she's being attacked. I thought, yeah, okay. So I sent her to a local SNU. I said, right, okay, there's the local spiritualist church. Go and see somebody there. And like the
Yeah,
first thing they mentioned was mental health. And they told her to go to a doctor, which is what I thought. But
yeah,
I thought, it's not a safe environment. If I go, I take a very good medium, somebody can actually see what's going on, which I know that's subjective anyway, but we don't mess about. I won't go in and just go through it. We need to know who it is. Somebody who can see, hear, and everything.
yeah. So ASAP have triage effectively, where we're
Yeah,
taking in as much data, as much information as possible before anyone goes
yeah,
there. Then when we go there, it's still a case of, there would have already been a number of conversations, a number of communications happening before
yeah,
there's any kind of personal contact. And some cases, I mean, there's a case. If anything, he's just someone who wanted to offload his story, and
mm,
organisations like ASAP are there to provide that service. Where it's not just a case of come in and bust my ghost. This person was having lifelong abduction experiences from the age
oh
8.
wow,
He's now 82 years old, and he's like, my wife has just died. If I don't share these stories, it
oh
might be in vain
bless,
because I'm aware that what was happening to me was happening to her. So he shared those lifelong experiences with her. I spent like 4 hours with this guy listening to his story.
oh my gosh,
Profound. And some people, you know what it's like when someone tells you a case and they just want to offload the case to you. And
yeah,
actually, the service you're providing is just that. They just want someone to acknowledge and listen to what they have to say so they don't feel like they're feeling like they're crazy.
yeah,
'Cause
that's
I think
right.
people, whatever your position, whether it be a skeptical, whether it be a believer position, people are having experiences. And
Yes,
we're not there to judge that whether that experience was true or not. They had some kind of experience, and
yeah,
we can listen to that. That should be the role of a. I struggle to use the word investigator, researcher. I don't know what fits because I'd rather I want to acknowledge what you're saying is true, and I'll take it at face value what you're telling me. But if I found something that is deceptive in there, we're going to be having a different conversation.
that's right. If there was a real massive issue, then you would take steps after that.
Yeah,
And you do the follow up calls as well to make sure things have calmed down.
yeah, for sure.
Like one lady, she ended up with two spirits, one which she lived with happily. She's a medium, but then another one came along, and it was just sorting that one out. And I think it's because she was sensitive, and things were kind of drawn to her, so she had to put up
So
boundaries.
what do you think is happening there? So if a person is okay, we're going to play this.
Oh gosh, there's
What's
going to be a multifold of things,
no,
aren't there?
no. So
Loads
what,
of questions here.
if we have it in, if we take the position of disbelief, that
Right.
is, I will accept what you're saying is true. That is, and we can play in that speculative space. If a
Mhm.
person is having has spirits and ghosts around them, whatever they might be, whatever entities they are, whatever they
Yeah.
might be coming from, what do you think is actually occurring there? Is the person a beacon? And can ghost spirits see that beacon and be focused in on them and go, wait, this person can see me, or this person can acknowledge me. I'm interested in this person. Or do we think it's some kind of technology at play? Do we think that is another interdimensional entity that's perhaps just going, I'm going to pay attention to this person because they're doing something curious. They're seeing things that these other folks, most of the folks, don't see. What's
All of
happening? Do
the,
you think?
all of them, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like when I first started doing development, it said like mediums have got a beacon above their head, they attract spirits, blah blah. I don't know. It's what I've been told. I don't know if that's true. You know,
Yes.
I guess that they say raise their vibration so they can speak to spirit. I can sometimes pick things up. I've been
What does
doing
that even
development
mean?
now for about 10 years. I get images and things.
Okay.
And, and I come out with names, dates and things, and they're spot on and haven't any prior knowledge.
Yeah.
And it's just thoughts just pop into my head, just like boom. And I
Accident
don't know
thought.
why. It happens. But then, you've got, what is around the house and or things sort of living in a parallel dimension of doing the day to day, and that I don't know
Is
how
there?
to connect or see or
But
sense or
yeah, do you think there might well be the? I hate to use the phrase "Akashic record," but there's often the nearest analogy to it is a kind of universal consciousness of information that somehow we tap into that provides us this data. Is it something projecting that information to us telepathically that we then pick up on?
I don't know. I don't know where the information's from. I don't know what we're communicating with. Like when people say, "Oh, communicating with mother," well, are you? Is it mother? Is something between you, or I don't. It's just like your head just goes off on it, doesn't it? It
Because
really does. Like you just don't know.
I really think sometimes we have to take the lens off a little bit. If you are in the spiritual community, you'll give it a certain name. If you are in, I know you're in Islam, or if you are in Tibetan monks, whatever, you are given certain names to stuff that have a different connotation, but it's the same phenomena is being described.
Yeah,
So I think sometimes you have to allow yourself to be in that speculative space and say, okay, the person I'm talking to is using this word to describe something that I'm using this word to describe, and kind of come to a bit of an understanding in the conversation. And I
yeah,
think whether you come into it from a spiritual position, a science position, or just an experiential position, there are people are having strange and weird cases happen in and around them, and it's not recent; it is going back millennia,
that's it.
which which then begs the question of what is actually happening in and around us. And
Hmm.
that's where I have a lot of fun and wonder and
Yeah.
researching conversations.
Like I used to go on the first ghost hunts from 2003, and you go along, and they'll go, "Oh, you feel hot, you feel cold," and then after a while, you sort of get a number of people seeing shadows, seeing mist, seeing
Mm.
something, and in my head, it's like, well, all these people can't be lying
No,
because too many things were happening. And I thought, well, there could be something here, and like you just question everything, and then a sort of development really is a challenge. I didn't actually believe in it. I did
because
it.
that's the thing. You don't have to believe in it, but the experiences are happening for these
Yes.
people. And I think
Yeah.
that's an intriguing element. I don't have to be a spiritual believer. I don't have to be a Christian follower. I don't have to be a Mormon follower. These experiences are happening regardless of what your faith is, regardless of
Yeah.
what your spiritual path might be and your journey might be. You could use the same words and experiences to describe this is God, or this is it's that spirit. This is me connecting to Pan, or this is me connecting to Thor. Fine, but the experience, actually, the nuts and bolts of what is happening, is can be described in a language separate from spirituality. And
Yeah, that's
that's where
right.
that's where I guess I sit is like I want to understand the mechanics of what's going on, perhaps without the lens of spirituality on top of it. I want to kind of push that to one side ever so slightly and just say, well, what is happening here? Are people, if you're in poltergeist cases, why is the wall banging? Regardless, why is things apporting near a person's head? Why do things get thrown across the floor? Why is there coins dropping out of the sky that have from 1500s next to this person? What is happening here?
Mm,
Why would is there an entity here that wants us to say this is where I was born, this is where I come from, this is where I exist? What is happening? If you look at like things
yeah,
like the Duddleston case, where you have potentially a person from the 1500s talking in real time to someone in 1984.
yeah.
What's going on there?
It's I love it, because it is that complex. And like the
Yeah,
more questions you have, the more questions you need to answer as well.
For sure, yeah,
And it's
absolutely.
just so fascinating, and it does suit my mind. You know,
Like,
you just start off on something, don't you? Then if you're looking at research, you go off on it, and then, oh, actually, and then you just going down rabbit holes to different places.
and
Sort
you
of,
think about the crossover with UAP phenomena, with poltergeist cases, with ghost cases. That
yeah.
is, in more recent years, is really more apparent than I ever realized. Even looking back at
Mhm.
folklore cases, they appear to be describing the same kind of phenomena. So again, is this an external agent coming to pay attention to us? Is this
Yeah.
the Watcher phenomena, the kind of the trickster case of phenomena? Is this entities that are just kind of latching themselves onto beings? I heard just a disturbing kind of TikTok video a couple of days ago where this lady is sat in the front of her car and she says, "Oh, what did?" She says to her daughter, who's in the back seat right behind her, and she's, "What did you just say?" And she's clearly just turning the camera on, and this girl says, "So what did you do before you were born?" "Well, I was crawling out of hell." And it's like, what?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was really hot and I was crawling out of hell. And then the
Oh
mother
my
is just
God.
clearly just drops her face, just goes white, you know. But she could, of
Yeah.
course, coached her child to say that. So,
Well, this is it, isn't it? It's believing the storyteller all the time. So
mm,
everybody's got the tales and everything. And I had a pub, and I had a lot of things. It was me causing it. Telekinesis.
yeah. So
If it,
RSPK, yeah,
if I was angry at something, things happened. Glasses smashing. I had there's a crash mat for when the drop happened on a Monday, and that well, I thought I had a cellar explosion in the cellar one day. Like, I had people in the pub. I was angry about something. I said, "Oh, you can't believe that." Cellar door right behind me. Massive explosion, I thought, in the cellar. I thought, well, my pub. I'm the only one here. My responsibility. Went down the steps and the crash mat had fallen down onto the floor.
oh,
And
yeah.
it's, I think this was like a Sunday night. Like, even for the vibration factor, Disco Friday, Saturday, nobody walked by it that day. There's no logical reason for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, a few things like that happened around me because I was
Excellent.
very angry at the time, and it's quite
So
cool.
do you? So when you describe that phenomena, do you
Yeah.
feel so like if say for instance if you use the example of a séance, right? In a
Yeah.
séance condition, they would say that phenomena is happening in the space, right, the dark space.
Yeah.
But then what's happening there is ectoplasmic rods that are coming from the medium and they're poking stuff, and that is RSPK. So and that is the phenomena happening. In the psychic phenomena world, you have the RSPK phenomena where you are somehow manipulating matter around you by using your mind. With something like that, we are using emotion to project. What do you think is happening here? Do you think you are emitting something? Do you think
Some electronic, some not electronic, is it? Just yeah, something's caused it. Some energy, isn't it? You're just pushing energy away from you, aren't you?
or or are you avoiding the Occam's razor as it just fell over, and you're equating those two things together?
The timing, the
Okay,
probability to go with that.
well, what is the probability? How often are
Yeah,
you
you can't
angry?
even measure that. Well,
Ah, exactly.
I was quite angry at that time because my ex was complete. But there you go. It happens, doesn't it? But yeah, I was. And there's another time where somebody wound me up where I didn't have much of a break. Like, you're running a pub, you don't get a break.
Yeah.
So I got a pizza, took it around, and the guy from the pool team was like shouted the wrong name, so I ignored him. Then I went in the kitchen to try and eat some food. I had 5 minutes of free quiet time, and he's banging his pool cue against the kitchen door. Well, I was fuming, so I stomped right round the bar to the front, said, "You don't believe I saw a white light go to the tumblers. It knocked four down, which were on the bottom, and the four balanced on top, and they just crashed to the floor." I actually nearly blamed my ex for throwing something at them because I saw this white light. Unfortunately, CCTV didn't catch it. It never does. It's always out of range, isn't it?
It's a little bit too fast for the frames. Yes. Have
You
you?
know, it was
I've been
mad.
following like Patrick Jackson's work, the Sphere Network, over the last few months, and these spheres that appear to be darting in and out everywhere, and I'm really intrigued by that actually, because that's something I've seen in the sky. I've seen that in people's houses. I've seen it here, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? But have I got a camera fast enough to capture it? No. Is that my next investment? Yes.
Yeah, and yeah, how can your eyes see it and the camera can't
Yeah.
necessarily? And
Is it slightly out of phase?
it was in broad daylight. You know, well, the lights of the pub were on, so you know, it certainly had light, and I could see it. And
Yeah.
you just catch it, you just glimpse it, and yeah, I thought he'd thrown something at the glasses, but you know, logically, no, that's not going to happen. It's just
No.
a little white light. I didn't
Got
even
you.
believe then either.
No.
That was the thing. I didn't believe. I just was in 100% denial. No matter what happened in that pub, I just denied it.
Yeah. And then, so what? How long did you run the pub for? Did you leave that long ago? Or?
I had that pub for 4 years, 2006, 2010. I ended up running it for 2 years on my own because my husband left me part of the way through the tenancy. So yeah, that was challenging, but yeah. Oh, I fight. I don't give up. Hey.
Sounds like you did quite well out of it, though. Did you move on in your life from there? Or was that the kind of the making and breaking point of that, or?
I didn't know how to get out of it. It provided someone to talk to at night, and I didn't want to live on my own. Okay. So you had that, you know, and it's also a job. So when you lose it,
yeah,
you know, when I did lose it, I lost the job, somewhere to live, and an income.
Got you, yeah. So
and then for that to happen quite quickly, and then to sort of fight to move on. Yeah, I have fought.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Are there still spaces for Thursday?
Yeah, there are some left on Thursday. So I'm going to National Justice Museum on Thursday. So if anybody's interested, let us know. But there you go. It's going to be an awesome night.
I was outside. I was stood outside there just yesterday.
Were you? Oh, it is incredible, isn't it? So much history.
I went. Me and my son, we went to the Castle Rock have a nice pub opposite St Mary's Church along there.
Yeah,
it was just too full, so we couldn't go in there, unfortunately.
Oh,
so we ended up going past St Mary's Church, and obviously went past the front of the Galleries of Justice, and then we ended up near the Cross Keys. There's on the left hand side. There's a little alleyway. There's a nice little cozy pub in there, and then we went up to the Roundhouse from there. It was quite good.
Yeah, some lovely sort of pubs in the area, aren't there?
There are actually some really nice, cozy ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I finally got into St Mary's Church.
Oh, brilliant.
I've been there like frequently, and I had a friend come from Norfolk. Well, Suffolk, more like. And she came and took her to the galleries, and went across to St Mary's, and you could get in and look round. Brilliant. And that's the first time I've been able to look round it, and it's absolutely beautiful.
Never been in there, and
no.
For no one who's ever been in Nottingham, you would be remiss to think that that's not the cathedral, because it's as big as one.
I know, and it's because of the other building. It's St Barnabas Cathedral, and that's what makes Nottingham the city. And yet that should be a cathedral. I don't get it. Well, it looks like one.
It is, doesn't it? I don't quite know what the how the whole Catholic Church of England, how they work out what is a cathedral and what is not. I don't quite know how they agree on that, but I guess the perception is if it's got a cathedral, it's a city.
Yeah, that's generally the rule of thumb, but not always the case. But it's the Catholic, which the Catholic cathedral, which is why it's a city. But the other one also looks like a cathedral. So why can't you have two? Because it's just different areas of religion, isn't it?
Yeah. So when I was in Edinburgh, they had two cathedrals there.
Yeah. So I don't know why we don't have two. Yeah. Because St Mary's should be a cathedral. But hey,
I guess the Cathar, of course, is obviously is within that word. And I think the Cathars, of course, have historic connections to like the Knights Templar and so on, those who were excommunicated and so on, pre-Church of England. So I don't quite know how the term cathedral works in the Church of England.
No, I don't. It's just that they're usually stunning buildings, aren't they?
They're beautiful, they are. I mean, you can, and they're not just passionate projects that are built in 5 years. Some of these take 1,000 years to be finished. That's insane.
That's right. Well, some have they finished the one in Barcelona yet?
I don't know.
Will they ever?
Yeah, but that passion to know that from the very first foundation stone you lay, it's not going to be this generation that sees the end of it. That is
Yeah,
remarkable. To know that it might be 10 generations before this building is even finished. That,
yeah.
that I mean, I'm not a religious person, but I find that dedication to faith really powerful.
It is, but when you walk into these places, they have a certain energy about them, don't they?
They do.
You know,
And
you can feel it, even if you don't ever pick up anything medium. If you go on a ghost hunt and you don't pick anything up ever, you walk in a church and there's just something about it, isn't there?
there is, I mean,
Just
the
some
resonance of
energy.
bells, the sound of the organ are
Oh,
really
beautiful.
quite historically, they have sounds like um ancient sounds. They are trying to replicate sounds of God, the trumpets and so on,
Yeah,
the organ. Um, so it makes you think. So what are they actually trying to recreate? Really, what were they actually hearing to know that this sounds like what they heard? They're trying to make that connection to God again. That's what did they experience thousands of years ago? That sounded like that massive, powerful organ or the bells.
that's right.
Is it to
Uh,
put you into a certain meditative state? Is it to put you into a certain mind state so you could have a connection to the ether or to heaven or whatever that might be? I mean, Catholic Church, of course, they don't use Savia Dionorum anymore. Of course, they just use sage. But of course, that one time would have been as they did the swinging rotary. What do they
yeah,
call it? That would have been something that would have put you into a hallucinogenic state. So
yeah.
and when you think
It,
about like things like the wine they would have give you, the sacrament, that would have been a very different wine to what we have today.
oh
That certainly
gosh,
would have been one
definitely.
laced with hallucinogenics. So
Yeah,
they clearly were having very powerful psychedelic experiences while they were in church. So and that is are they still talking to spirit? Of course, are they talking to something? Could be as
yeah.
the end.
And that is the fascinating thing. Like, I did go to a monastery, the nunnery, and while I was in there investigating, it's gone now as a location, which is a shame. But an incredible building in disrepair, but absolutely incredible. Just to see some of the artwork still there and the way it was. And I was thinking, well, yeah, if they're talking to spirit, is it any different from what we're trying to communicate
Oh
with?
yeah,
It,
oh
it's still up there, isn't it? And because they call it what they
yeah,
call it and we
yeah,
call
for
it
sure.
what we call it, then it is it similar,
Is
and
it not the same phenomenon with a slightly different name?
this is what I'm wondering, and I guess you're not allowed to mention that because
Of course you can.
obviously
Absolutely.
people who've got strong faith in something, oh no, you can't say that. But yeah, it just came in my head when I was in this nunnery, and it's like, oh, okay. But yeah, it's just fascinating though, isn't it?
It
You
truly is. Truly is.
you are trying to do the same thing, but just different connotations and a different belief system,
Yeah,
really.
just slightly different lens, but I think you're both still trying to reach a level of understanding. But they are perhaps their lifestyle and their way of life is faith.
Yeah, that's right, and it is so intriguing. You did send me some information about what you do,
I
and
did,
you
yeah.
mentioned Hollingwell.
Hollowell, yes.
Now that has really intrigued me because I used to drive. Well, as a child, we used to go up to Mansfield every week, and very often went by the location where an incident happened. So, can you give us more details on that,
So
please?
what is the Hollowell incident? So if you were to look online for the Hollowell incident, you will find pictures by a gentleman I know personally called Neil Lancashire. So he was a photographer who captured the images on the day. There's certainly 9 that are quite famous, and they appear to show children in states of distress. Many people have passed out. There was on the day more than 400 people who collapsed. Now, the perception of the story is different. In the newspapers of the time, and those who were there will tell you, 400 people, mainly children, passed out and collapsed. As like it happened instantaneously. That did not happen. Neil's perception of that, it did not occur like that at all. Him being the photographer, I would guess that he knows that because he took those pictures who were there.
Yeah,
So his perspective is a little bit different, but I'll explain to you the wider story and why it's considered paranormal, and then I'll tell you some more facts about it. So,
shall we
of
say
course,
1980s?
it's July 1980. It's
Right.
July the
Okay.
12th. So the particular street is If you were to look up on Google Maps, you will find a street called Blidworth Road, Derby Road, and Diamond Avenue, where they cross over,
Right.
intersect. If you were to go down Derby Road, it is the third field from the end there. There's a farm at the end of that very field. So, happening on this field is an event that some people may be familiar with. Certainly if you were around in the 1980s, you would be aware of something called jazzy bands. Jazzy bands were a social experience that the companies who own the mines were obligated to provide entertainment and something for the families of the miners to do. So
Right.
this
Okay.
basically was a bit military marching bands who did pom poms. They had trumpets. They had um, beautiful clothing on, leotards, and so on. They would do military style marches with batons and twirls and so on, and they would have these kind of competitions.
Yeah.
Happening here on this particular day was the Jazzy Band Festival for the East Midlands. So there was lots of different groups and troops from all across the East Midlands who were coming here for this particular day. What is confusing, and it's not so clear in the original report, which I do physically have, there's two events happening on the same field at the same time. You generally won't find this piece of information unless you spoke to people who were actually there. So at the top of the field, closer to the farm, is where the festival is happening, where these marching bands are happening. At the bottom of the field, closest to the road, is where there is a traveller festival happening, where they are bringing their horses, their shire horses. They are
Right.
doing a show for their animals and so on, and it's like
Mhm.
a trade fair. So these things are equated together, but they are separate, happening on the same field at the same time. So there is a bit of a crossover, and as such, there is a little
Mhm.
bit of confusion with this. So when these people start collapsing, the perception is that they don't know why these people are collapsing. But bear in mind, these children have been on this field since about 7:30 in the morning. It's about 10 o'clock. It's very hot. It's very humid. The hats they are wearing are fur-based hats, and they have been drilled that this is the biggest event of the year. It's being judged by people from the military. So these children are, they are being forced marched. They're doing their performances. They're trying to get ranked. So as such, there's no water available. There's no refreshments. There's no facilities
Right.
available. There is only 8 blue portaloos there, and they apparently have a very distinct smell of bleach there. However,
Eee.
there apparently is more than 1,000 people at this venue, and there certainly is more than 200 or 300 at the other venue, sharing these same portaloos in the same venue space. There's not only no water, there is a hose pipe, however, that is just trickling through. And as the children start to collapse, there's a call out over the tannoy that says, "Don't drink the water is poisoned." About an hour later, there's another call goes out of the tannoy to say, "The ice cream is poisoned." So this actually went out over the main tannoy. That the ice cream here is poisoned because these people are collapsing around. But I guess the perception would be, if you were to read it online, the story is that everyone collapsed instantaneously. That
Mhm.
good didn't happen. They were collapsing in handfuls of groups over the course of a period of the day, mainly
Yeah.
after 10:30 in the morning to around 3 in the afternoon. There's emergency services. There's no phones around. This is 1980. So the
That's true.
nearest phone is actually well into Kirkby. It's actually more than a mile away, and nobody has a phone nearby. So as such, there's a delay for emergency services getting on board to get there. They do arrive, and some of the cars take people to Kingsmill, some take them to Queen's Med.
Yeah.
The initial reports, there is statements that say horses and dogs died. That did not happen, and there is more than 400. It's like 354 or something were treated at the two hospitals at the time. Not quite. And it is actually within the reports itself. There is actually a breakdown of every single individual who was treated and how they were treated. But what they were treated for was asphyxia. They had blisters on their hands and on their skin.
Wow.
One particular child had blisters on their backside. The nappy, they were a nappy. The blistering was on the backside, even though they were wearing a nappy. That was considered to be a case. Two children, two premature children, so babies, they were taken to hospital as a precaution. And so the thing is, they didn't know what caused this, and as such, you can imagine
Mm,
newspapers were all over this, and
yeah.
you can Google the responses, what happened. So, like the Sun, the Mirror, the Guardian, they've all got mass headlines, and they're all really, um, it's like I think it's a Gala kids, 400 kids KO'd, poison gas, knocks out children, that kind of stuff. And like the thing is, so the police arrive, health and safety inspectorate arrive, government investigators arrive, House District Council arrive. They actually can't find the single actual cause of why this happened. But of course, you can imagine there's lots of parents and lots of press demanding for answers. They held a
Hmm.
conference on the Sunday. I think it was on the Monday, and that there was representatives there from the two hospitals. There was representatives there from the health executive, and they basically they created a list of a number of items that they thought it might be that they were investigating. I think there's like 15. Of
Wow.
those 15, there's some curious list people on the list. So, is it poison? Is it bleach? Is it
Mm.
is it or stuff you put on the ground like fertilizer?
Fertilizer, yeah.
Yeah, is it what was is it VHF radio waves? Was one of them. Is there underwater? So there was stories of there's an underground nuclear bunker there. Is literally listed on this thing. A UFO crashed on this field a few weeks ago. Is that the cause of this? And that kind of became equated to that's why it's a paranormal case.
Yeah.
You have
Interesting.
also the thing is about the VHF radio waves. It is interesting because there is a bit like how people have a fear of 5G and 6G today. The fear of high frequency radio waves back then was still very prevalent.
I think there are some there. I remember
There are
driving by them in
so
Kirkby.
the one that is particularly there on this particular field is actually owned by the RAC and is a relay of
Okay.
the 1980s. But this was their own of these 15 reasons that we're going to investigate. In the second press conference they held, they ticked that off the box to say, no, that is owned by the RAC. It's used as a relay station, and its voltage is not high enough even to transmit to the families. That wasn't a cause. And it said like the extraterrestrials, are have been discounted. There's no nuclear tunnels here, no nuclear waste been buried here. So effectively, they actually crossed off all 15 things of what the reason might be. They couldn't, therefore, determine what it was that was caused, which again caused a backlash to say there's a cover-up going on.
Oh,
So
God's
this
sake.
is why you've got a mysterious story of 400 kids have been collapsing, and then also the story of there's a cover-up. The cover-up is they actually exhausted the 15 reasons why this might have happened. So this led them to make a different analysis, and the analysis was actually provided to them by there was in the newspapers. You know how they have the opinion pieces that you have, like
Yes.
the
Yeah.
editorials, right? There was two editorials that were going back and forth between each other. I think it's like the Daily Telegraph, and I think it's the Daily Mail or the Guardian.
Mm.
And so it was two particular experts, and they were writing letters to each other about this particular case. And they highlighted a story. They highlighted cases where this also happened across the country. This happened in Newcastle, happened in Leicester, and they're included in
Okay.
the final report of where children, in their hundreds, collapsed. There's certainly the story that's contained about Sunderland. It's like teachers also collapsed as well as the school kids at a particular school. And again, it's like 174 children collapsed and parents. And eventually the school nurse came along, slapped them in the face, woke them up, and they got a picket. So,
Strange.
and so basically these two editorial pieces are going back and forth. And they came to the conclusion, therefore, it is mass hysteria. What caused them to collapse wasn't anything other than, well, you've exhausted all the official reasons why it might happen, all the
Mm.
strange things. What's left with is a psychological behavior where, as some children were exhausted and collapsed on the floor, other people then did the same thing because they are reacting to each other. So that then led to the perception. Of course, you have a story of children collapsing. There's a cover up, and then also on top of that it's mass hysteria. Therefore, that's quite suspicious. What do you mean? And there was a particular a gentleman who went to the press frequently at that time, saying my daughter had collapsed. She had terrible events happening to her. blisters on her body. This is not the case. I'm not happy with your result. And it wasn't until 2002, some like 30 years later, there was a documentary done by the BBC, Inside Out or Inside Story, and it revisited the case. And they had Trent University involved, and
wow.
they discovered that there was, although they had dismissed the chemicals that were on the field in 1980, they had discovered there is a chemical that was now banned that wasn't then, called tridamorph.
Wow.
It's called tridamorph, and that's contained, and that causes asphyxiation. It causes you to be tired, causes your eyes to go red, and although at the time the farmer who owned the field said that he had not treated the field, turned out he had treated the field with this stuff 3 weeks prior. So as the people were doing their walks and their marches, it might well have caused it to bubble up, and that is therefore, in 2002, was the solution to what had happened in 1980 when the kids collapsed. However, it
Wow.
wasn't
Incredible.
until, I did a documentary with the BBC in 2022 with Andy Whitaker from BBC Nottingham, and he was kind of revisiting it, and he was like, it was weird because he wanted me to say it was paranormal. Because I'm a paranormal investigator, he wanted me to say, so what do you mean it's not paranormal? It's not. No, it's like, no, the data says this. So, but how can you be a paranormal investigator and you don't think it's paranormal? I says, well, I investigated it. My answer is, this was the answer. And he was just a bit like, but you've got to say that is it a ghost? Is it UFO? Like, there was none of that involved. And I got the impression he was disappointed.
Yeah.
I didn't agree, or I didn't want to say on microphone that it wasn't paranormal. And as such, I don't know how much of my my interview that we had is kept in his documentary. But it's called Fall Down Field. It's on BBC Sounds. It's actually the feedback from it was really good. It did actually hit number 2 in terms of BBC Sounds documentaries. So
incredible!
It's pretty decent. That's a documentary as far as it goes. But yeah, he wanted me to say it was a paranormal case. When if you look at the data, it's not that. Neil Lancashire's perspective was it was lots of children happening throughout the day. The kids were clearly exhausted. They were wearing these fur hats.
It was hot.
No refreshments available. There was no ice cream man. There was no water available to anyone. And that's the story of what happened. And it is a fascinating case because of it. And in that particular space, on the same field, was a UFO case from 1978, from 2 years earlier, where there was a crash. And then in 1987, there's another UFO crash in the same space, which makes you go, oh, maybe there's something to this.
I've always been intrigued. Like I used to go to Mansfield every week to see my grandparents, and there's always something about that road. I don't know. It's always intriguing, and I don't know what with that and Annesley Hall. I've always been fascinated about those two parts of the journey to Mansfield. I don't know why, and it kind of explains it a bit now then, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, again, it's because the fact that there's a duopoly with, is there a cover-up? Kids can't just collapse. Oh, mass hysteria can't be the answer. And it actually it led. Do you know Bob Rickard? No. He's the founder of 14 Times.
Right.
Okay. So he kept all the news clippings from back in the day. He literally gathered them up together.
Oh, fantastic!
Of all these different accounts that was happening. And he then published a book based on the findings of that report where it says, wait a minute, there's cases where people also spontaneously collapse. And then there's actually a book wrote on that, because obviously, and he gathered lots of different cases from around the world where children and families and people would just spontaneously just collapse down for no reason, psychologically.
Wow.
So it's really quite fascinating. It's actually called, it's something like The Day They All Fell Down or something like that. It's a really interesting book.
Incredible.
I have it. It's in the bookcase somewhere around there.
It's great when you sort of get like occurrences around the world, really, and you just like find them and think, oh, there's more than one, and it's fascinating, isn't it? Trying to work out why things have happened.
Why things happen, indeed. I mean, like there's lots of UFO cases where, like the quite famous case in Africa, in South Africa, where all these beings come down. They talk to all the school children. And of course, that's very similar to what happened in Broadhaven, sort of. And the case in, I think, Central America, where it appears to be literally a busload of beings, wherever they might be, then come out and speak to the school children. And you're going, what? Is it like a school trip out there and they come to meet our school children?
Yeah, it's incredible. I'm fascinated. I did go camping in Rendlesham in
Oh, brilliant!
October. Yeah, me and my dog. It was great, you know.
I was
Um,
I was not far from Rendlesham last year. Actually, I stayed. My partner's she has a her parents wanted a family holiday with all the different families together,
cool.
and we stayed not far from Orford, which of course is a stone's throw
Yeah,
away from Rendlesham. And of
that's
course,
right. Yeah,
in Orford, you have that legendary story of the is it the ugly man from of Orford? It was a merman. They was found at sea and was brought
yeah,
ashore in like 1129 or 1174 or something like that. And it historically is accounted, that there's a being who they found. He appeared to have the legs of, well, a fish, or sorry, and they appear to be, it's like the two tail kind of thing. So his legs had scales effectively, and then he was held captive there where they decided what to do with him. And and it's not for a short period of time. He's there for months, and then
yeah,
they find some way to keep him, to allow him into the bay. They put some kind of chain net down so he couldn't get past it, whatever. And then one day, effectively, when the guards were distracted from this happening, he like swam underneath it and swam out to sea and kind of gave him a wave on the way out. And then you
mm.
find that isn't the only case. There's like 4 or 5 cases where that's the same kind of phenomenon seen along the same coast.
It's intriguing. It's an
Mm,
interesting coastline in that area. There's got a lot
yeah.
happening around there with the sort of the air bases as well.
Yes. Yes.
You know, they I sort of visited a few of those, which are museums now, and yeah, there's a lot to see around there.
Lots to see. Lots to see. And I guess
Yeah.
all these different places have stories because they are now abandoned buildings. So have they now become dark tourist spots?
Mm. Well, they were for me. That's why I was visiting them. You just kind of wondered, like, if you go in and if you kind of pick up the energy, you just try and pick up the feelings of the day somehow, or
When you say
as well as
pick up
with.
the feelings, are you kind of homing in on a particular feeling? Do you like, I feel drawn
Well,
to this? Is this my steer?
I, I go in because history and paranormal kind of go together. You wouldn't have places with a lot of history. You can get occurrences because, in my eyes, you've got a lot of emotion with the battles. People die and everything else, and that's why you may get something. And I don't know, it's just certain places draw me, and I just felt that I wanted to go to them, and I did go somewhere, and I think I've just got a right crushing headache, just in one particular area of the room, and then you sort of moved away from it, and this was in the daytime, just to pick something up, like what's caused it, not my headache, why I've got it, just ask multiple questions, don't you, to yourself, and
How do you find that you are hearing the answers in your own head, or are you getting them on a device? How is that working for you?
well, I wasn't getting any answers there, to be fair. Sometimes I do get answers in my own head. Like I was at the Haunted Object Museum, and I was sort of getting question. Sometimes I get images, so then I ask questions connected to the images I get. And in an ideal situation, there's probably a guest with dowsing rods or a friend with dowsing rods, and as long as they know what they're doing with them, because you've got that as well, I sort of get sort of the information to ask a question, and then the dowsing rods go to yeah, and they keep going to yes with all my questioning. It could be specific information,
Okay.
and then I sort of come out with something which I know wasn't right. Ask that, and then the dowsing rods will go to no. So I know that the person doing it is also, as far as I can say, that they're doing it right.
So what do you think
It's
about dowsing rods then? Are these the rods that are just the arch, the curve, or are they ones that are kind of in a sleeve, what you would
They're in
hold?
a sleeve.
Okay.
I hope
You
I
tip
haven't
them
left
forward,
them
or you
there.
tip forward and tip them back and then pull apart?
The sleeve, it's got a sleeve, and the handle, that's the handle, and then it's just bent. So you're not actually touching the rod bit. You're just touching the two sleeves basically. And yeah. and yeah, got some interesting results, and often do, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know
Do you,
how
do
it
you use like the
happens.
pendulum as well? Do you or
Yeah, I can. I don't. I used to. I think that was one of my first tools.
okay?
Um, but yeah,
So do you think therefore a spirit are using you as the channel and then giving you the answer, or are they affecting the device like the chain or the thousand watts? What do you think is happening there?
they're giving me the information. They're giving me the story. Then I'm using the story to get the answers on the devices.
Okay.
So they'll be moving the devices to respond to the
So
story I'm
their
getting.
energy is actually
Images.
what.
Yeah, it's just like it's around that area, isn't it? And how it's with you and there as well, because you're standing in different places. You could be across the room from each other. I don't know how that works. You know how? Yeah, it's just strange, isn't it? But well, that's the whole thing. It is strange. That's why I
It's
love it.
seriously strange. Like this
Yeah,
magazine, seriously strange.
seriously strange. Which is going out very soon. It's on its
Uh,
way.
so yeah, well, this should actually be this the box. The box arrived today of Seriously Strange magazine. This
Yeah.
goes out to ASAP members. So if you're an ASAP member, it'll cost you 20 quid a year. You get 50 webinars a year. You get physical magazines. You get access to all the events and so on. And of course, as I am a professional video magazine editor, of course, you get a physical issue as well. 2 of these a year, well, at least 2 to 4 of these a year.
That's great to get like actual paper magazines, because
It's
everything's online, isn't it?
it's it's potentially one of the only things that keeps ASAP a little bit different from most organisations. Is the need to have physical edition, and
Yeah.
because like I said, everything is, and we are certainly in a position where printing costs are affecting us. They are not cheap. Um, I mean, as far as it goes, our financials go out tomorrow. It's the 31st of March. So
Right.
I
You're
know that
quick.
issue 162, which is this one here. This went out like last March. This cost like 2,240 quid for what effectively was 300 issues, and then you have the postage and stuff on top. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just not cheap to make that happen, and
The
particularly when you're charging
postage.
postage.
What has happened with that? That's horrendous now.
Yeah, so postage is fucking crazy. That was the yeah, postage is just too brutal, and I think
Yeah,
that's what's crippling people. Is postage. And I
that's
appreciate
right.
postage have got to get paid, and but Royal Mail, they boasted like £9 billion profit last year. I'm going, surely you could
Yeah.
get down a bit.
Yeah, there's quite a few stories as well, aren't there,
Yeah, for
about
sure.
Royal Mail at the moment. They're always in the headlines, and
Dude. Yeah, things like
yeah,
I there was a time people were very proud to be a postie, and they weren't time tracked. They were able to get to different locations. They finished when they finished their round. They were part of the community. As well now, you're expected to only be on the doorstep for 14 seconds. You knock once, you knock again, and nothing heard. After 20, you leave. All that kind of stuff. It's an added
mm,
pressure that perhaps people shouldn't be experiencing. I get that
yeah,
perhaps in today's commodity market, you have to, value, what's the word for it? Competition, because there is rival companies now. It's not just
there
Royal Mail.
are. Yeah,
There's
that's
dozens of
right.
mail companies, and they're all competing for the same people. So I
Yeah,
appreciate there is a need to pay them reasonably well, but the cost is just crazy. It shouldn't cost you £2.50 to mail what effectively is an A4 piece of paper. No,
no,
that's wrong.
no. I don't know when it's shot up over £1. Like just first class stamps. I don't even know what it is anymore, but they're going up again, and
I, so
that's why people don't send letters, isn't it?
I do know to send a copy of this edition to a person costs is it £3.60 postage cost. Second class,
Second class. That's shocking.
yeah, it's 3.60 because it's over a certain weight and it's over a certain
Oh,
size.
the size, yeah.
It's C4, so it goes up in 2 categories. So it goes up to C4, so it's like
Ouch.
3.60 to send the issue. The magazine for
Definitely
ASAP,
shocking.
you pay 20 quid a year, and we currently right now it's included. So we've got to foot that cost, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
yeah, which is not a good balance. But actually, Myself, Bjorn this year, and Maria, we really went to town on making this as professional as absolutely possible. I mean,
Oh,
I would,
beautiful.
yeah, because we used to ASAP produce the science journal and the magazine, so we're trying to. There's been less peer review papers in the paranormal this past year. Something that's come our way. I'm sure that many has gone to the SPR, but
Mm,
we haven't had as many. So it was a case of what of the ones we have got, would it make sense to publish them in Seriously Strange, and then make them, make the magazine more akin to National Geographic and make it more akin to BBC Science Focus, as opposed
yeah,
to it being a fact. Because obviously, Seriously Strange at one point was essentially just a members' bulletin magazine for members about the cases that were going on, and then it evolved to feature user stories, articles, and it's just expanded. Now we're publishing features in there. Members of the paranormal community, whether you're a scientist or whether you're a lay or a researcher, can actually find a place where you can actually publish your data. That is
no,
important
it's
because
incredible.
nowhere
Yeah,
publishes data anymore. We assume with all the various different groups on here, where does anyone publish information? They
yeah,
don't. They
no,
publish it on their Facebook group.
yeah,
That's
I
about
do.
it.
That's
And
it.
that's about
Yeah,
it.
just gets lost. That's it.
Yeah, because I think
Yeah.
about often when you post on Facebook, for instance, only 10% of your Facebook audience will see that post ever.
Not even that many.
No, it's not.
It's not even 10%. It's so tiny, isn't it?
It is.
Because you're getting all the sponsored ads for everything else, aren't you now?
Well, their encouragement is that you pay to so more of your audience will see it. So even if they've got
Yeah,
notifications on, even if they're dedicated looking at your page every day, only 10% or is it less now will see your post that you make. So
yeah.
potentially, if
So,
you have a case and you're sharing stories about it, not even your main Facebook wall is ever going to see it. Most people won't see the story. I find that to
no.
be disappointing, and as such, the Facebook social media algorithm is really skewed towards itself getting paid, not about your content.
That's right. And there's got rid of a lot of my content. They'll get rid of this after 28 days.
Yeah,
I've got 5 years of podcasts on Facebook. Well, I had. And then they wipe them all,
yeah.
and it's kind of not the same place anymore.
No,
And ever since it did sort of sell shares, it has changed massively, hasn't it?
I think also there's a within the social media space, there's been a lot of diversity in the last maybe last 5 years. You have platforms that have now re-risen, like X basically is a new space entirely, but
Yeah,
also on top of that you have Substack. Substack basically it's YouTube for writers. So you basically
interesting.
you can write your content on there. People can subscribe to you. They can see free content that you produce. But also, if you are following a journalist, for instance, I don't know, and they've left the mainstream industry, you can
Yeah.
become a writer on Substack and actually still get paid. People can pay to
Oh,
view
that's
your
interesting.
articles.
That's cool.
So
Yeah.
Substack effectively is like YouTube for writers. That's phenomenally good. But also, in the most last couple of years, they're adding the ability to upload podcasts onto there too. So they have exclusive people posting material out of that. So that's really good if you want to get your stuff published, is to have a Substack page. And X
Incredible.
also, you can become an X member and actually write articles onto X now. So
Well,
they are trying to become a media dominant space too. So
yeah.
the shift between where mainstream media is and where internet media is a blur anyway. But now to find out that you can actually still make money yourself, not a blog, but on social media is available.
Oh, yeah.
That
TikTok, even like Facebook, I think I was due $2, just
yeah,
by sharing a photo with writing,
yeah.
and it sort of went well, and that was it. And yeah,
Yeah,
I think
I
you've got to
recently
do
became
100.
a paid member of Facebook. They were like, "Oh, Christian, we want you to become what's it, a professional on Facebook." And I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah,
I don't even know what that means." I've got a new dashboard. That's about it.
yeah. That's I have as well on my sort of private one, but then
Yeah,
I can still keep things private, whereas not
yeah,
everything goes out, publicly. I don't tend to use that a lot now because I'm using sort of Paranormal Path quite a lot,
yeah.
which was taken down the other day.
And why? What happened? What did
Uh,
you do? Did you
fa-
say
fa-
something mean? Did you say
no,
about Case Farmer? What?
no, Facebook just decided I'd posted something. I can't remember what they say. It contravened the standards, and they
Ah,
suspended it just like that.
I got
So,
slapped the other day myself. So
So they asked me. So that was it. It gone. They'd sort of said, "Well, send a copy of your ID." I thought, "Oh, is that the way to get my ID?"
Of
And
course, yeah,
then all of a sudden, it's like, "Oh, we made a big mistake." Well, yeah, too right, you did. I thought, well, that must be a way to get my ID then.
yeah.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
That's quite interesting actually. So mine was I posted. So obviously, besides YouTube, there are other video platforms. There's like Rumble, there's BitChute,
Yeah,
there's Odyssey, Vimeo, and so on. Dailymotion. So
yeah.
I read the Seriously Strange podcast that goes out. This is the ASAP podcast. And when I changed it, I included Odyssey on there. There's a dedicated paranormal audience on Odyssey. Very much in
Right.
the US. They're dedicated video content to paranormal on there, a whole section for it. So, but I shared a link from that onto Facebook. And Facebook actually not only shut me down, they shut down my actual main profile and said that I had contravened the Facebook
Yeah.
articles of posting. And now I've got a mark against my name. I actually can't make certain posts. And it's been about
Oh,
2 months
wow.
now.
Well, I took a photo from Haunted Antiques, and there's like a little cabinet and had all these little jars on. And it actually put a black mark against me because I'd contravened copyright.
Oh man.
Huh? Copyright of what exactly?
Yeah,
Sorry?
it's my photograph. Yeah.
No brand names, no nothing, nothing looks like, doesn't look like anything. And yeah, and it's just
This is though it's AI algorithms running in the background, just going, "Oh, I recognize this."
yeah, this is like, oh, this looks random, let's block it. And like, oh, and I know like at some stage I'm gonna lose this. I'm probably gonna lose my profile because it's happening to more and more people, isn't it? And
Yeah,
it's a shame, you built up this, you sort of know the community through it. And if you lose it, then you're gonna lose a lot of people that you chat to.
yeah. So don't mention anything about Keir Starmer. You might be all right.
Oh, oh God, no. Oh dear, don't even get me onto yeah.
No, man. So I was certainly in the geopolitics space for a couple of years. I was doing some stuff with TNT Radio, or TNT, the internet broadcast company,
Mm,
and so quite often we'd talk geopolitics with people who'd worked at RT, people who'd worked in of just essentially not alternative media, people who'd come out of the mainstream media into the alternative space, and yeah, we were getting there's a lot of really strange things happening in that area, particularly when it comes to the control of language and speech and what you can say. I try
yeah.
not to talk about it too much on Facebook. I don't want to scare too many people these days, but
We really can't mention a lot on Facebook at the moment, can we?
no, the
I
Facebook lists me at your door.
Yeah, I keep trying to. It's false news, isn't it? If you
Yeah,
share something, then I shared something. You know that Coldplay,
yeah.
that Coldplay, which upset a couple, doesn't it?
Oh well,
Their
well, him and
families.
her
Yeah,
they should still be more responsible, shouldn't they?
well, exactly.
If they're having an affair, fine, but
That was quite funny, wasn't it? Anyway, there was some apology from him or her or something, and I posted it on Facebook, and Facebook did me for fake news.
oh really?
Yeah,
Wow.
but yeah. But there you
That's-
go. It's joys of Facebook, isn't it?
It is. I guess the social media space in general is what you can and can't post. I mean, how much are you allowed to be yourself?
You're not.
No,
You
you have to be on
cannot.
a very
No.
narrow band over here with, parroting certain narratives.
Yeah,
Or
you've
else.
just got to be really careful, haven't you? And you can't have opinions on anything. That would be
How
deemed
dare you have an
terrible.
opinion?
Hey,
How dare you have an opinion?
I know. You're not allowed to now, are you?
Over the
It's
line.
terrible. But yeah, you just have to be so careful. But
Yeah.
ASAP then, how do people join?
How do people join ASAP? Well, ASAP, first of all, okay, whether you are or not a member of ASAP, regardless, you can go to the Seriously Strange live conference. That's happening in August. It's August the 22nd to the 23rd. And who are there? This little thing here tells me there's a whole list of people, of all the people who are going to be attending as speakers there. There's some interesting characters you might know. There's Kate Ray going to be on there. Dr. Paul Rogers. Dr. Paul Rogers, of course, is the investigator behind the Doddleston messages, as I mentioned earlier. Dr. Anne Winsper, talking most likely about time slips, as she often does.
Ooh.
Patrick Jackson, of course, the Sphere Network. Professor Rob Gandy, Chris French, Ronald Fanthorpe, Deborah Hyde, Andy Guy, Karen Besant, Sarah Pilkington. I'm apparently on the list here. Dr. Mark
Awesome.
Fox. Dr. Mark Fox has recently, last year, he was ASAP also give research grants to people. And Dr. Mark Fox received a research grant last year. He is researching the shapeshifter phenomena and the trickster phenomena. So,
Interesting.
how far it goes back in antiquity. He covers a lot of olfactory senses. So things, in particular, he focuses on the sulfur smell. How that is so often found with not only within historical cases going back into Greek and into Egyptian mythology, but it's really replete in the UAP abductee phenomena.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's
I've
covering that.
encountered that.
Yes.
That was I think you're aware of that one.
Mhm.
That was a strange one, but yeah.
So yeah, that conference is happening. It's the University of Worcester. So there's 20 speakers there over a weekend. There's a gala dinner. We have the Mentalist from ITV's Ant and Deck show. What they've got on there. There's a Mentalist quite famous on that show, so he's coming to do a show with us, and the weekend ticket is like 40 quid. Fucking bargain.
Oh, that's awesome.
ASAP.ac.uk. So, and literally is open to everybody, whether you're an ASAP member or not, regardless. So go to asap.ac.uk, click the booking form at the top. It'll take you to Ticket Tailor, and also Nori, who does their events. She's put together some deals with a hotel because it's the university and it's out of season. We're actually allowed to use their entire residence campus.
Oh, wow!
So instead of paying a hotel, you can stay in the residency, and it's like half the price of a hotel. So if you want to stay the weekend, it's like 60 quid, as opposed to paying 100.
So different, yeah.
That's a huge difference. So not only is the price to accessibility 40 quid for the weekend for 2 days of talks, but also to stay there, it's like 60 quid because the residency is open. So absolute bargain. So if you want to come along to literally the be all and end all, the people who are talking about anomalous phenomena, and it's a bargain price. So I would like everyone to come. There's asap.ac.uk and check the booking form at the top. And it's just
I will share it. I will share it out.
Please come along too. I mean, consider it. There's things that haven't been announced yet and people who have not been announced yet. And I know there are certain characters who are willing to come. But I can't mention their names because they are super special. They're coming over from the US.
Oh, wow. Lovely.
Okay. So,
you're dying to say, aren't you? You're so dying to say. You're so close.
They've certainly been invited, shall we say. So,
right, fingers crossed then.
Yeah. Interesting characters nonetheless. So, on top of that, so ASAP, what is ASAP about? So, it's the Association for the Scientific Study of Anomalous Phenomena. Been around for this year, it's 45 years. They've been around since 1981. So, it was founded by Jenny Randalls and Hugh Pincott. So, they kind of broke away from the SPR because the SPR at that time weren't willing to go beyond the topics of psi. So, of course, as you know, they're the Society for Psychical Research. Mm-hmm. So when it came to topics like UFOs, cryptozoology, Earth mysteries, of which their membership clearly has an interest in, as an organization, they weren't looking at that. So ASAP kind of formed itself and broke away. Bob Rickard, 15 Times, was in there, Maurice Townsend. So that's how ASAP was formed. And, of course, now 45 years later, are still going pretty strong. And
it's fantastic.
I wonder how much work I'm doing compared to everyone else. But,
you love it.
I do far too much bloody work at the moment because not only do we do the live webinar on a Thursday, then I have to then edit that video. That then goes out on a Tuesday as the podcast and on the video show. We're doing live talks monthly. We've got 2 podcasts going out there. There's a lovely lady called Gladys St. John. She's come on board with us. So she worked on Star Wars Episode 7. She's working on Hunt for Gollum. She is a film producer. So she's launching a podcast on the ASAP's network. So we're going to air her show. That's called High Strangeness in the UK. So she's got 2 episodes done of 6. So we're going to be airing that. So you can listen to that on Seriously Strange, wherever you choose to listen to your podcasts. That's pretty fun. So what we really want to be able to do is be able to be a publisher, really. So for when people can publish their science articles, where people can publish their lay articles, where if you want to be able to present your data, your information that you've gathered, investigative reports, be somewhere well, we can do that. And that's what ASAP is trying to be moving forward as a place to do. So you can be an ASAP member, but it's a place where you're welcome to share information, to get it out there, to get your work published.
That's fantastic. I like that.
Yeah, that's really good.
But yeah, like a lot of people I know listen to the podcast, and they really enjoy it.
Yeah. And so we are in the top 15% on Spotify, which was just incredible. I mean, I did not expect that, because I see the data on the other side of that, so I see the numbers, and I'm going, are they sure? But yeah, they sent me like an award for being in the top 15% on Spotify, and we were like one of the hot podcasts of 2025, and they sent us 2 other awards for like most talked about show, which is really odd because not enough people comment, I don't think, but it's good fun to know that that's the case.
That's incredible. That's fantastic. Yeah. But I want to thank you. Over time's come to an end. Got to finish by 1:30, but thank you so much. It's been so interesting.
Who's your little friend?
This is Rocky. He's probably the reason that I can't come to because I'd have to get kennels for him. So that's the reason I probably can't. Yeah, he is. He's boxer, but he's got eye issues because he's had ulcers in his eyes.
Oh man.
Yeah, but it's fine. But he can see. But yeah, but he just thinks like, oh, that's it, 9:30, it's time.
He knows it's bedtime. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, not yet. No, bit early yet. But yeah, he thinks so. Yeah, that's it. She's done enough talking now. So yeah,
that's awesome.
It's time for a treat for him. But yeah, but thanks so much. It's been an incredible conversation.
No problem. So it's interesting to have a conversation like this where it's a bit more informal, because most people say, "Oh, could you give me a talk on this?" And it's like, "Yeah, sure." Yeah. As this is a bit more personal. It's more fun. I
just go with how it goes, sort of thing. I don't follow any sort of routine other than the start, and then just see what happens, really. And end up going down some right rabbit holes, and
who knows where the conversation takes us.
Oh yeah, who knows where the conversation is going to take us? But it does, But but thank you so much. It's been incredible. Thanks everyone for listening, and thanks for your comments, everyone. And look after yourselves. Goodbye.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.